This is FanCastic, the fantasy book podcast where we fancast all your favorite characters from best-selling fantasy books. Hosted by me, Loretta Kincaid. I am a former stage and screen actress, current fantasy book narrator, and Hollywood entertainment professional working in TV music. This week, we are fancasting the first book in the 8-book series Throne of Glass from the world of Sarah J. Maas. So meet me in another realm, and let's make some magic. Hello, mere mortals, and welcome to episode 2 of FanCastic. Yay, you're here. That means we did it with our first episode, Fourth Wing, with my friend Kirsten. I hope you enjoyed it. I know the audio quality is not great. We are learning. I am an experienced podcaster, but I've actually never done a video component. So I think that's really important for this podcast because it's so visual. So bridging the gap between streaming and visual components and getting just the audio and stuff out there, there's going to be a bit of a learning curve, but we're getting there. I've got a better camera. We've got a windscreen on our mic. So little by little, guys, we're going to, by episode 10, this is going to be amazing quality. I'm so excited for you. If you are not following us on Instagram, please do. I am currently not on TikTok, but FanCastic will likely be on TikTok very soon. We are just taking baby steps. It's a lot at once, and it's just me. I am hosting, recording, producing, all that stuff. Let's get into what we're going to be doing this second episode. We're going to be diving into the fantasy world of Sarah J. Maas. We're going to start with her first series, Throne of Glass. Its history, some nuances with the reading orders, and then I'll introduce you to my guest, and we'll get started with our fan cast. Throne of Glass is a high fantasy novel series by American author Sarah J. Maas, beginning with the entry of the same name, released on August 2nd of 2012. The story follows the journey of Celaena Sardothien, a teenage assassin in a corrupt kingdom with a tyrannical ruler. As the tale progresses, Celaena forms unexpected bonds and uncovers a conspiracy amidst her adventures. The series actually concluded on October 2018 with the eighth and final book, Kingdom of Ash. So Throne of Glass, book number 1-ish. We'll get into that. Book number 1 is about Celaena's year of slavery. So after a year of slavery, the teenage assassin Celaena is given a chance to become the tyrannical king's personal assistant, king's champion, by representing the Prince Dorian, in a competition against thieves and assassins. She must survive every test and trial in order to proceed to the final, in which she has to fight her remaining opponents for the role. The role. We're actors. As candidates are found dead in the castle, their bodies are ruptured. Absolutely gruesome. Celaena finds herself delving deep into mysteries concerning not only her, but her own ancestors and the creatures of darkness that dwelled beneath the castle. Pretty cool, right? This is actually known as a classic YA novel. So I know we're used to that high spice that we're just coming off of Fourth Wing and ACOTAR. We're used to that, but in this series, it's a little more closed door flirtations rather than real spice so far. Now, I am only halfway through book 2, Crown of Midnight, since we just started this series, but it seems a little more tame, which I kind of enjoy. I need a little bit of a break from some my woman, my house, my chair situation. So it's like, whoa, chill out here, guys. I'm really enjoying it so far. There's a few nuances that goes with this series, which I didn't know about. I had read ACOTAR first, then I read Crescent City, and there's tie-ins between those series. So far right now, I'm not seeing any tie-ins. Apparently in Crescent City, there's some nods to Throne of Glass, but I was not there yet. So I'll have to reread Crescent City. Darn it. But with Throne of Glass, there are certain orders to read the book, and there's options. Now, when you look up the series, it looks like the first book you should read is Assassin's Blade, because it is a bunch of little novellas that were published that kind of explain Celaena's background of the main character. So I asked for that book for Christmas. My lovely nephew got it for me for Christmas in our Secret Santa gift exchange. I was so excited. I jumped right in. My friend Adara, who will be on this episode and you will meet shortly, she also had the book, jumped into it, and I posted that I was starting to read it. And I had a friend of mine jump into my DMs and be like, no, wait, hear me out. There are different ways to read this book. If you haven't gotten too far into this one, I urge you to stop, read Throne of Glass first, and then read this book as book 4, I believe, is how she wants me to read it. So I was like, wait, what? And she said, truly, if you can stop and you can go back and read it in this order, I promise you, like, it is really worth it. Sarah J. Maas actually prefers the emotional reading order herself because The Assassin's Blade was published later in the series anyways. So it kind of was like an afterthought to kind of fill in some gaps and to like give an emotional arc between these two books where something apparently happens that will make it hurt, I guess. So I stopped what I was doing. I totally listened to her. I trusted her. I was like, okay, I'm going to stop. I reached out to Adara. I was like, I've been told we should stop. What do you think? And she was like, I can stop and let's jump into this other one and then read. And I was like, okay, great. So I read Throne of Glass. I really liked it. I'm really excited about the reading order I chose. Now, there are other reading orders. The traditional reading order is Assassin's Blade, then Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows, Empire of Storms, Tower of Dawn, Kingdom of Ash. Then there's the romantic reading order, which is Throne of Glass, Heir of Fire, Assassin's Blade, Queen of Shadows, Empire of Storms, Tower of Dawn, Kingdom of Ash. And then, of course, the emotional reading order is Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, The Assassin's Blade, Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows, Empire of Storms, Tower of Dawn, Kingdom of Ash. So I'm doing the romantic reading order. Oh my gosh, I'm not doing what Sarah J. Maas prefers. Whatever, we're already in it. I mean, I can move it to really wherever. We're going to think about it. The thing I wouldn't do is the tandem read where Empire Storms and Tower of Dawn apparently are in the same timeline, but are different sets of characters. And you can go back and forth between, there's like chapter marks where you read half of it and then you switch and read the other half. I don't think I could do that. I think I'd be really confused. I mean, I'm confused already. You know, I don't even know where to put Assassin's Blade anymore. So we're going to figure that out by the end of this episode. Adara and I will talk about which order are we doing, girlfriend, because right now I'm only halfway through Crown of Midnight, so which I'm hoping to finish very quickly. But, you know, I had to like do a thing like start a podcast, I guess, held up a few scheduling things, I guess. So anyways, Throne of Glass, the series itself appeared in the New York Times bestseller list. But this book, guys, I cannot believe this. I didn't know this until I was like looking into doing some research and, you know, writing the script I'm currently saying to you right now. This ACOTAR, everybody knows what's been going on with ACOTAR, right? With the TV or series. It started with Glass in 2016. So it was optioned by Hulu and Disney ABC Domestic Television for a television series adapted by Mark Gordon in 2016, but nothing came forward. And then the rights went back to the author. Hulu announced it would adapt Throne of Glass and so Empire, okay, timeline. Empire of Storms comes out, the book. Then it announced it's going to do a show. They were going to name the show not Throne of Glass. It was going to be named after the fourth book, Queen of Shadows, in the chronological order. And Maas put an image on her Instagram that was like the pilot script. And I guess no one was cast. There was no one attached to it. But I think there was someone from The Handmaid's Tale. Kira Snyder was the writer, I believe, and the director from Outlander, which is crazy. If you know what's been going on with ACOTAR, the same thing happened. And we're gonna like really talk about that in our third episode, which is A Court of Thorns and Roses, about that series. The same thing happened. I cannot believe this happened to her twice. I'm honestly like, I'm so shocked. I'm so shocked that this happened twice. This girl can't get her shows made. And I think the lesson here is Sarah J. Maas, stop going to Hulu and Disney. No, I know you want to go to Disney, but it's HBO Showtime show. Girlie, stick with the good ones. Stick with the big guns. Disney and Hulu, I just feel like they are so fickle and nothing gets made. I was so sad to find out that this had happened to her already. I think, she is going after Hulu, or feels like Disney maybe is coming after her to work with her, because Sarah J. Maas has cited that Disney's Cinderella was actually the inspiration for writing Throne of Glass. She thought that the soundtrack was like really dark and intense, and it actually led her to like rethink about it and reimagine a number of details. So she was thinking, okay, why is she running? This music is really dark. Like she's Cinderella. This is a fairy tale. And she said, quote, the music fit much better when I imagined a thief. No, an assassin fleeing the palace. She said that she didn't know who she was. Like she needed to know this backstory. Like she was like, oh my God, was she sent to kill the prince? Who were the prince's enemies? And they were powerful and corrupt, perhaps. This makes so much sense with like who Celaena is, as like this gorgeous blonde girl who's like comes out of slavery and is like dirty and like trying to be a royal and stuff. And then Dorian, who is the quintessential Prince Charming. It's like the pieces are really falling into place. I am really sad that this show seems to be off market. Maybe it'll come back, or maybe Akatar will get made and then it'll come back. Like, but it kind of seems like Throne of Glass is sort of pushed to the back of Sarah J. Maas series because of how Akatar blew up on TikTok and on Book Talk. And I don't know, I kind of feel like this is like A Throne of Glass is the little sister. It's not. Like, I actually really, really like it. I'm so excited to FanCastic here. Oh, also, fun fact, Sarah J. Maas wrote this when she was 16, which makes sense that she was like, Cinderella, but deadly. What happened? I love that. I think it's so great. Let's welcome our guest. Now that he got a little backstory, we've talked a little bit about some of the television specs of it before. So let's bring our guest. Today joining me is going to be my friend and maid of honor, Adara Bryan. She's a great friend of mine. She is a trained opera singer, Broadway girly, recruiter extraordinaire, Jersey resident, killer queen, cool girl. Hey, Adara.
Hi,
Welcome
Loretta.
to Fantastic.
I have been so excited for this all week. Like
Oh my God.
I've been going back to my fan cast and like just making sure like, is this what I want? Is this okay? And then I'm so curious to see if we have any. I don't think we'll have any crossover, but I'm so curious to see if we have any crossover.
Okay. So Kirsten and I did Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
Last week, first episode. We had 3, nearly 4 of the same people.
Wow. I'll
So
be very excited to listen to it to see which ones are. I haven't read Fourth Wing yet though, so
yes,
I'm not going to know a whole lot.
we don't spoil anything, but yeah, I think if you listen to it beforehand and then you start reading Throne of Glass, that's what we're doing here, Fourth Wing, then maybe you'll like picture the characters and then can like reaffirm that was the choice or that wasn't the choice. But by the time this episode comes out, that episode will be out. So I can tell you that our Zayden was Mr. Bridgerton himself, Reggae Jean Page. That's how you actually say his name, is like Reggae. Which Kirsten and I kept calling him Renee Jean Page the whole time. We both were like, not his name.
The man left Bridgerton to do some work, so let's give him some work.
Okay, so and I also misspoke too, because I thought he like didn't want to be a part of it. I don't know why. I think like TikTok told me lies about that or something. But it was like they didn't up his contract. He was like, I'm sorry, I've already committed to this. Like I can't do this anymore. So I was like sitting here like salty, being like, it's too good for you. We're all in love with you and you just left us.
I never thought that was the case. I figured it was like more of a situation of like Bridgerton maybe like I said not renewing, but I think they just didn't know what they were going to do with it and they took too long to figure it out. And by the time they figured out, he was like, I'm doing other stuff. I can't. Sorry. At this point, it's kind of maybe a little too late to bring him back into the fold. Although I think the fans would love it for him to come back into the fold. They'd be very happy.
God. Like if he just like pops in and he's like, hey guys, I'm here. So our lab, we actually had like a bunch of the same and it was really funny. And like there was also like a few that she threw at me that I was like, I never in a million years would have thought of this person, and it 100% makes sense. Like that's why it's like this is so.
Of those. That's what I'm
hoping you do too, because
oh shit. Good.
I'm nervous for like I'm not nervous is the wrong word. I'm not nervous. This isn't real. This is fake. This is fantasy. This is fantasy. It's called fantasy casting, fan casting. My Dorian is I'm not 100%, like, so it's like there's room for stuff.
My first was
Since
Kale, and then everything got built off of that.
okay, because my very last person was Kale.
I knew who Kale was gonna be immediately, and
Okay,
so
amazing.
I built it off of that because I feel like that's gonna be a hard one for folks to figure out, and for some reason, it locked in for me so quickly, and I was like, "Okay, I just have to build out from here."
I'm
There is gonna be
like
one person
so
on my list that
I'm
you may not know how to pronounce their name
mhm.
if you're reading it, so if we get to that person, I can step in.
Listen.
And then there is, another person that I switched super last minute, but I like my second
Okay.
choice, so my updated
No, Queen.
choice.
Here's what we're doing. Here's what we do. So, since it's your first time here on FanCastic, we skipped a whole thing of how we know each other. So, we're going to get into how we know each other. Then, as you heard in my little intro, they're going to talk about the series that was ordered in 2016 and never happened, and the fact that it happened again to her with
Mhm.
A Court of Thorns and Roses. I was like, girl, what is your deal? What is going on? So, we'll talk a little bit about that. And then I'm going to have you go first.
Okay.
Unless you want me to go first.
No, that's fine. Either one, doesn't matter.
Okay, so we share our own screens and we go through one by one and look at each character and you explain why credits are, why you feel that they would be the right cast. You're pitching, right? Like we're pitching this to each other.
Yeah.
We're important casting directors in
Of course.
Hollywood. Of course. So and then we build a cast together. So
Yeah.
if there's people that we're like, yeah, yours is better, mine was better, I'm going to fight for it. And we see what our beautiful cast looks like. And then if the show ever gets made and we got any right, then we go to Vegas. And I send this episode to a lawyer and I say, listen, this was our idea. No, I'm just kidding.
Copyrighted. Done.
We won't get into that.
No.
Okay, my drink is like leaking on my beautiful cup. Wait, I'm gonna show our watchers and listeners. I've got this beautiful cup that Adara gifted me in as encouragement for creating this podcast. It's a tarot card that says the reader, and it's got a spoopy little skeleton reading a book. And I have sparkling water in it for my themed drink, coconut LaCroix with a little bit of vanilla syrup. It's delicious.
Num.
So good.
Num.
It's really good. It's like a little sparkly pina colada. Okay, how we know each other. Well, I feel like we've gone over it this 8 million times because I just got married and made a playbill and it's part of your maid of honor speech. So why don't you just pull out the speech? No, I'm just kidding. So
without getting emotional.
yeah, without crying. We know each other we're both Minnesota girlies.
Woo,
And
Vikings.
Go Vikings, go Twins, go Minnesota Wild and Timberwolves. We met in 2012 when this book was published.
Yes, we did. Wowza.
Gasp.
Yeah,
Meant
because
to be.
last year it was 12, and so this year makes 13 years that
That's
we've known
crazy.
each other. Yep.
That's crazy.
You were
That
still
is crazy.
collage. I was not. 'Cause I am a few years
Right.
older than you. I was a production manager for a new musical called Christopher Street, about the famed Christopher Street in New York City, that was being produced for the Minnesota Fringe Festival, and you were cast in it. And we were trauma bonded
was.
over that experience.
We sure
Leave it
were.
at
And
that.
we're not going to say anything else about that production
No.
for legal reasons.
For legal reasons. It's Christopher Street, the new musical. Enjoy, folks.
New musical.
But
And you know what?
trauma
Word on
bonded.
the streets is that it still makes an appearance every Fringe festival.
Yes, I think they actually did something with it in 2024.
Yes. So we've known each other.
You moved to New York a year before I moved to New York. And so I
Right.
was like, let me connect with people that I know. And there were only like 2 or 3 people that I knew from Minnesota that were in New York. But I, wanted to make sure I had friends and a community. And I would say the first half of our 13 years of knowing each other was just Christopher Street. And then we both were like, we don't want to talk to anybody associated with this production ever again.
Right.
So we
100%.
didn't talk to each other for the first half. But then when I moved to New York and we reconnected, I think we both were like, wait a minute, this girl is pretty cool.
Wait, are we friends?
Are we friends? And then here we are. I was your maid of honor,
Yeah,
understudy, since I know
sure were.
last week's guest was your original maid of
Mhm.
honor, but she welcomed a beautiful new baby to her family. So
Should
then I stepped in, but I was second runner up anyways, so I was high on the
no,
list.
how
So it was
lucky.
all
I
great.
had 2 maid of honors. That's
Yeah,
really lucky.
there
Wow.
you go. So, and here we are.
Now
We just happened to be reading Assassin's Blade at the same time. And
mhm.
so we said, let's do this journey together, baby.
And then somebody screamed at me and said, "Don't! Do it this way!"
Yeah, let's
And
talk about that reading order.
I I thought we were doing the emotional reading order, but it looks like we're doing the romantic reading order.
I didn't know there were multiple readings. This is the
So
first
there's
I've heard of
yes.
it. I
Yes.
knew that
So
it was
there's
suggested that we insert Assassin's Blade after book 3, but I didn't know that there were multiple versions of how to read this series.
yes. Okay, so I think in the intro I was trying to explain it and I was like, "Oh, it comes after book 4." But no, it becomes book 4 and book
Yes.
4 shifts to book 5 for the
Yeah.
romantic reading order, which is what I believe I was told to do. And then the emotional reading order, it puts it as
3, I think.
3. Yeah, so it would be now after Crown of Midnight, unless you've already started Air of Fire.
I'm halfway through Air of Fire. There's my bookmark right there.
I'm trying to catch up. I
And
am on I am on chapter 18 of Crown of Midnight. So like I'm making progress. It is a shorter book. Like I can fly through this. My plan is to be done with it by next week so that I can jump into Air of Fire and then we can jump back into Assassin's Blade. And then there's the tandem read of
no,
reading Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn at the
not
same
interested.
time.
No,
I
not
can't do it.
interested.
Obviously, someone's name changes and identity changes for some reason. And I think I can put pieces together and figure out what the reasons are, but I don't want to because I'm trying to like be like, surprise me, book.
I've
So it
avoided as much as possible, but I will say one of the reasons that I changed one of my fan casts is because and I avoided, I'm going to say probably 99% of the spoiler for this, and I'm not going to say
Mhm.
what it is, but I also was kind of picking up vibes from the first book anyways. And so I was like, okay, if this goes the way that I think it's going and the way that this one sentence mini spoiler hinted that it might be going, let me change one of these actors. So we
Yeah.
shall
Yeah.
see.
I'm glad you did that because it was hard for me to honestly cast this one because I was like, I have so far to go in this series still that I'm like, I can't be 100% about any. I think there's like 4 characters I'm fully 100% on, and they are minor characters. None of the majors am I like, yeah. It's like all of the minor characters that I'm like, come
True.
on, you can see it, right?
Well, here's the
Like,
thing. I don't know if some of them end up being minor characters. And then also, and granted, I'm only halfway through Air Fire, so that's why I'm saying I don't know. Based on, I think, some hints that were dropped in the first 1 to 2 books, and based on
mhm.
like a little mini spoiler, I was like, I don't know if this person ends up being a minor character or not. I'll have to cast thinking that maybe it might not be a minor character later on. And Fire. I feel really good about all of mine.
Oh my god,
I
it's
the way this dominated my lunches at work over like for like a week, all of my coworkers are like very like into it. And none of them know this book series, but they're like, okay, so who's your updated cast this today? And I'm like, let me show you. And then
oh
I
my
can
god, I
tell them.
love it. I love that. I'm constantly switching between windows as I'm working on this, and then somebody walks past my computer, and I'm like, I'm working.
My home background on my computer is just full of a whole bunch of different actor headshots. Like, I need to clean these up.
That's so funny. I'm really excited to get into it. So,
Mhm.
are you liking the series so far? You've read A Court of Thorns
Love
and
it.
Roses, but you have not read Crescent City, correct?
No, and I'm glad I'm reading it this way. I think A Court of Thorn and Roses is the book, the spicy book for the older reader. And
Right.
I think that Sarah focused on the spice. And the spice is great. We love it, especially as you get further into the book series. I think that because these series was her first series and she was younger, so she was not as focused on the spice level. She was really focused on character development and storytelling. And I think that so far, for me, this is better
Yeah,
character
absolutely.
development and storytelling.
Yes.
And neither here nor there, like neither one is bad or good. They're just different styles of writing that she went through at different phases in her life. And so
Mhm.
I'm excited because also I have heard The Crescent City one is the one that ties kind of her whole universe together from what I've heard.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I will have read the ACOTAR universe, world, so to speak, because they're she's very into different worlds inside
Mhm.
the series. Have been introduced to the ACOTAR world. I will have been introduced to the Throne of Glass world, and then Crescent City ties all the different worlds together.
I was so far into Crescent City by the time the crossover started happening that I was like, "Oh shit." Like, I know that there are references right now that I'm not getting, and then when the 3rd book in Crescent City recently came out, that's where the big every crossover happened, and I was like, "Wait, like, do I wait book 2 of the Crescent Cities series?" It has such a cliffhanger that I was like, "I gotta read this other book right now." So I think after I finish the Throne of Glass series, I will have to read Crescent City again because there's full characters that are somehow connected to this world.
Like once I've read, there's one theory that I saw on the TikTok about how they all connect together that I'm excited to discuss.
Mhm,
But I've not read Crescent series, so the one character they mentioned, I have no idea who this is. But how it connects all three books together through one
mhm.
character specifically, and I was like, so I'm very excited for that.
And I think I know which character because of her appearance.
Probably yes. According to the TikTok that I saw,
Yeah.
I think that that's what it is. But again, I have
So
no
I'm
idea
like,
who this character
so
is.
as I'm reading, I'm like, as I'm reading Throne of Glass, I'm like, where does she come in? Where is this? Okay, we're talking about library books. We're talking about books. I know she's important. Like, where does she come in? So I don't know. I just think Sarah J. Maas has like an amazing depth and like, how does she know she's gonna tie it in? And it works. Like, there aren't these like crazy plot holes. Like, it really does make sense if you're into like high fantasy of like, okay, different worlds, different people, different things, different
Yeah,
creatures, all this stuff. Like, if you're really down for that, like down to clown, it's great.
yeah.
Um, I didn't know, like, when I was doing my research on the actual book, she was watching the new Cinderella that Disney did, the live action. And there's like a scene where she's leaving and the scoring and the music, which I work in music licensing, so I know how that like really changes that the mood of things. That's what got her to be like, why is this music so dark? Like, this music's really dark. Like, this is supposed to like, why? What's the hidden story here? And then she was like, oh my gosh, she is an assassin and she was going after the prince. And like, that's why Dorian has the quintessential Prince Charming, red cape, blue, dark hair, the mom, all these different things that I think that is why this series so far has the best character development is because she had it came off of an idea. And so she had kind of a reference board.
I think most best fantasy books are somewhat homages to classic Grimm's Tale, Cinderella fan fiction
Mhm.
novels that then turn into their own worlds and sometimes even better than the world that they were inspired from.
Yeah.
But quote fan fiction it's not new. And while I wouldn't necessarily say that this is like a full-on fan fiction of Cinderella, it's definitely it's close to that realm. It's not a Twilight to 50
Yeah.
Shades.
Yeah. And it's what's interesting is that ACOTAR is like Beauty and the Beast. And then I
Exactly.
feel like Crescent City, the main character is like a Little Mermaid-esque looking, but other characters would represent the human to mermaid thing. Sarah J. Maas is a Disney adult, I think, and I think that's why she's constantly really wanting to work with Hulu and Disney because of where these things are, but
Yeah.
it keeps being a dead end for her, and that's making me really sad because obviously she cares about the work and the source material and everything too. So,
I mean,
hopefully
I think that Disney and Hulu would be fine for Throne of Glass. It would not be fine for ACOTAR.
for
And so
sure.
I think that that's the problem is that if she's trying to connect all these worlds, she needs to find um a production house and production company that's going to be able to honor her spiciest of models because they're not making that stuff on Disney. Like it's and Hulu maybe, but it's not gonna it's gonna be advertised on Hulu, and then if you have the Hulu Disney Plus combo pack, then you can see it on Disney Plus. But it's not going to be now on Disney Plus ACOTAR. Like that's not going to
Right.
happen. It would have to be
Right.
Hulu only for that. And even still, Hulu only I don't think would do the service of honoring the source material as all of
Mm-mm.
us girlies want to see it honored. And so that's why she
Yeah.
needs to go to a Showtime or an HBO. But I totally get why she wanted to try to see the Disney Hulu relationship through. I get that. But
Yeah.
she needs to think about
Hmm.
her spiciest world and find the production house that will be willing to do that. And then they can do all of them.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Well, hopefully, our fan cast here will maybe light some fires under some asses.
I'd be okay with Netflix.
I would be okay with Netflix too, I
I
think,
think Netflix
for
would be a really good middle ground between the Disney Hulu and the HBO Showtime.
this Earth Wing has done the correct thing by being with MGM Studios and Amazon Prime because of like The Boys and like things like that that are attached to it that are pretty graphic. I think Netflix would be okay. My only hesitation is that Damsel movie that came out that had Millie Bobby Brown in it that was like, this was not good. Like makes me worried. But I feel like for Throne of Glass they could do it. ACOTAR, maybe. Crescent City, I'm not sure they could pull it off. Oh, there were some things where I was like, "Ooh, can't be reading this at a lunch table in my office." Um, so let's cast.
So excited.
Are you ready? Please welcome to the stage Adara Bryant's fan cast of Throne of Glass.
I'm so excited. Okay.
Okay.
So
All right, girly.
I'm
Here
just
we
going
go.
to go through it. Okay, so here we have my fan casting of Throne of Glass. Like I
Mhm.
said, the first one that really locked in for me was Kale. I struggled a little bit with Dorian, but then I ended up on someone that I was so excited about. But then once I locked in Kale, I was able to go to Celaena pretty quickly after that. I really, 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 really wanted to try to have this cast be as diverse as possible, and also while respecting the source material in terms of physical descriptions. I know there's some up for debate on certain physical descriptions in ACOTAR, and we'll leave that for an ACOTAR fan cast. But then I also wanted to cast these actors as close to age appropriate as possible. I am so tired of seeing 37-year-old men being cast as like 23-year-olds. Like
Preach.
it's listen, I'm 37. I love the 37-year-olds. I'm like so hot, but not believable as a 23-year-old. I'm sorry. And it doesn't matter how much
Yeah.
riz they have, how much charisma. Speaking to you, Jonathan Bailey, and you and Wicked. I know I'm speaking to the kids. I'm speaking to the youths here today.
This is a millennial podcast. I don't know what that means. Rizzo from
Well,
Greece?
if millennials have teenagers, they'll know what it means. I think specifically for this one versus because we're dealing with humans here in the first
Mhm.
book,
Mhm.
because we don't know what happens in later books. Since we're dealing with humans as they're presented to us in book one, they need to be age appropriate. Whereas when you compare it to ACOTAR, they're fairies who've been around for 500 years. So there can
For
be a
sure.
little bit more gray area with some of that casting for sure, because you want to be able to present an actor who really represents kind of the depth and maturity of someone who's been alive for 500 plus years. But for
Mhm.
this one, young. They need to be young. And then also a couple of names that would draw people into the series, but not anybody who's going to really overpower the series is
Okay.
really what I was aiming for. So, are we
I'm
ready for
like,
my first cast?
I'm like shaking. I'm like vibrating right now. Like I'm like, can't wait
Okay.
to see.
For the role of Celaena Sardothien, I cast Sadie Sink from Stranger Things. Um, Stranger Things. Also, I'm going to say the majority of my people also have a pretty extensive Broadway or West End career. I chose a lot of theater actors as well. Sadie originally was in the revival of Annie many years ago on Broadway, but she is about to be in John Proctor Was the Villain, which is opening up in a couple of weeks here. And I mean, people know her best from Stranger Things, but she's been in a couple other things as well. I had to
Wait,
search. I had to search for a photo of
I've
her
never
to
seen
find
her as a blonde.
I know, and I think she did it maybe for the All Too Well 10-minute version
Oh my
music
God.
video.
She's
I'm really proud of
literally
this one.
perfect. Oh,
I am so proud of this.
okay. So I
Um,
went first last time with Kirsten,
yeah,
and I now understand how she was feeling. A good one.
Perfect. Okay. So,
Mhm.
just to reiterate what she has been
Yeah,
in, was mostly known for Stranger Things on Netflix,
of
but
course.
she was also recently in The Whale, which was an Academy award season darling last year.
Yeah.
Dear
Brendan
Zoe and the
Fraser.
Sacrifice, and then on Broadway, Annie, The Audience, and John Proctor is the villain in terms of her
Mhm.
Broadway theater credits as well. So this one I'm very proud
Okay.
of,
Yeah.
especially with the blonde. I was like,
Yeah.
done. It locked it in for me.
Shoot.
Okay. All right. Are we ready to see Dorian?
Yes, please, because I don't know. My Dorian sucks. Okay, go ahead.
So I know Dorian is supposed to be tall, and this actor is not, but that's okay because I think he's perfect in every other way.
Movie magic, baby.
Henry Collette, who plays Jaehaerys, this oldest son on House of Dragon.
What
So
the heck?
he's 5'6", 5'7". He's much shorter than, but who cares? Movie
Movie
magic. I
magic,
think
apple
he's,
boxes, all the stuff, angles. Oh my
yep.
God.
He was also in Dunkirk for the film.
He
Little.
was.
Yeah. I mean, granted, he's like 22, 23, so he was
Yeah.
like a preteen. He was young in all of
Okay.
this.
It's
But
like
then,
Dunkirk feels like forever ago at this point, but
would you like to hear his West End credits?
yeah. He's a
He
theater.
he's a musical theater kid.
Stop it.
He was in Billy Elliot. He was in Matilda, and he was an elf on the West End.
What
I
the
know.
fuck? This is an adult podcast. I can say that. I'm
Yes.
shooketh right now.
I don't. This one I did struggle with, but I struggled less with these top three than I did with some of the other ones. So, but a lot of these still clicked in really easily for me. I don't know why. Maybe I should be in casting.
I like him. I like him. I have some
Yeah,
rebuttals when we get to mine, but I like
totally
him.
fine, totally fine. Because this one's a
Mhm.
hard one. This one's a hard one to do. So I think there's going to be rebuttals for everyone.
Okay.
And then moving forward, for this is the one that locked in immediately for me, and I think it's because I am currently in New York where this person just ended a Broadway show and his face has been everywhere for me. So it immediately locked in. And that is Kit Connor for Kale Westfall.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, this will get all the Gen Z girlies to come see this show. They are obsessed with Kit Connor. He is just finished playing Romeo in Romeo and Juliet with Rachel Zegler on Broadway.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and then in terms of, he's also a theater kid. He was also played one of when he was a kid. He's just now like 20, 21. And so he's really kind of coming into his own as a career in terms of being an adult. A
Yeah.
lot of the kids these days know him from the TV show Heartstoppers. I don't know if you ever watched his Dark Materials, but he also played the voice of one of the talking animals in his Dark Materials as well that was
Got
on
it.
HBO several. So like
Okay.
a lot of people have these folks have large production house connections already, which I think will be helpful in trying to get these folks, if anybody in the casting world is listening, to be like, let's just pitch this entire cast to HBO. And then he
It's
played
crazy because this is how I pictured Kale.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I like couldn't find the right actor that had fit in my brain. Like I was
And
like,
I didn't think you
I
would know who
can't
he
find.
was because you're not in New York currently, and you're not seeing his face everywhere on the subway,
Yeah,
and because I'm in New York,
not a
New York
clue.
theater is in my algorithm everywhere.
Yeah, not
But
a
he
clue.
was also the teenage version of Elton John, Reggie Dwight in the Rocket Man. So singer dancer
My
as well.
God. I
He
love
was
it.
great. I just rewatched The Rocket Man. Great voice, great kid. He's
Mhm.
more of, I think, maybe
Yeah.
naturally of maybe a little bit of a red, but he was dyed extremely red for that movie. But this is the
Yeah.
one that
Yeah.
locked in for me immediately, and I was like, the Gen Z girlies are gonna line up for this movie or for this TV series
Wow.
with Kit Connor.
That's
Moving
yeah.
forward,
Yeah.
Princess Nehemia, Quvenzhané Wallace, who is the youngest ever Academy Award nominee. She was
Mhm.
nominated for an Academy Award at age 8, 9 for Beasts of the Southern Wild. She took a little bit of time off in order to
Mhm.
kind of like finish school and stuff like that, but she's now in her early 20s, I believe, and she recently has been on Blackish and in American Horror Stories. And then when she was younger, she also was in 12 Years a Slave. She was Annie in the Annie reboot with Jamie Foxx. And then a very recent movie called Breathe. I don't know why I this is how Nehemia came to me. But as I was looking for young, early 20s Black actresses, she just kept popping out on the list for me. And I feel like it would be a really amazing step in her career, knowing the ability that she continues to have, but she took a little time off and is now coming back. So this one's a little out there, but this is who I'm envisioning for Nehemia.
I'm like
It'll
shocked that this is the same girl from Beasts of the Southern. What is time? Like,
What is
sorry,
time?
what?
Yep, what is time?
She's in her teens now?
Yeah. Yeah, because like a lot of people I think are thinking of Zendaya or Amanda Stenberg and things like that, and I'm like, Zendaya's not going to do it. She doesn't need this in her point in her career, and I honestly don't think it's the right role for Zendaya anyways. I think Naomi needs
Mm-mm.
to feel really earthy, and she needs to really have
Mhm.
like this power to her. Not that Zendaya is
Mhm.
powerful, but Zendaya is like ethereal, beautiful. The entire world loves her. She can do no wrong, you know? And
I agree.
you really want to feel like the earthy groundedness that I think Quvenzhané Wallace has.
She and the character of Princess Nehemia, she's super strong.
Yeah.
Like she's got this like locked in attitude, and especially like in this first book, you're like, she good? She bad? What's going on?
Yeah.
Like friend,
You don't know.
friend,
You,
enemy?
friend or
We don't
foe.
know. I like her.
And then also she's described as having braids, and this just happened to be a picture with braids. So I was like, that's even
For sure.
further. It's from a magazine shoot, kind of looks like a high school, graduation photo, but it's from a magazine shoot.
Yeah.
So I was like, perfect. Okay, this next
Yeah.
one is Kane. This one is purely for me.
Okay. Okay.
Winston Duke. I don't feel like I need to say more about Winston Duke. He's a
Mhm.
huge man. He can play scary, and
Mhm.
he's huge.
I like him. I like him.
I really don't feel like there needs to be that much said about it. And
Mm-mm.
then I also felt like this was another way to ensure that the cast was as diverse as possible
Yeah.
by making sure that Kane is a man of color. Could there be some discussion about whether or not the bad guy should be man of color? Absolutely. I think that warrants further discussion. Just to
Yeah.
remind listeners of what Winston Duke has done, he has, if in terms of TV series, has been in Person of Interest and The Messengers, and in film was in Us, Black Panther, in the Avenger films, and most recently in The Fall Guy. But then also he is a Yale MFA student, and he was at Yale at the same time as Lupita Nyong'o.
Mhm.
I have way too many names going in my brain right now of actors. And so while he doesn't have any Broadway credits, that Yale MFA acting, that's no joke. So definitely has the theater background that I was trying to infuse into a lot of my casting choices. So
Well, and I think the character of Kane has to be very theatrical for not many lines, lots of physical acting. So really important.
listen, if
I
Winston
love
Duke can
that. And
speak
I
to me. Okay, moving onwards. I forget what's next. Oh, Elena Haviard. Anya Taylor-Joy. She's just very ethereal looking. I don't know if she needs this at her point in her career because I feel like she may be moving past it for what, as of right now, I know to be a smaller
Mhm.
role. I don't know what the future holds for Elena
Yeah.
coming back.
Mhm.
But when I think of like Fairy Queen, I think of Anya Taylor-Joy.
For sure.
To remind listeners of what Anya has done, she was in the TV show Peaky Blinders and The Queen's Gambit. In terms of film, The Witch, the Split Glass series, The Menu, and Last Night in Soho. She's just, I don't know. When they described as long silver hair and light colored skin, I'm like, there you go. I honestly couldn't think of anybody
There
better
she goes.
for
She already
this.
exists.
She
Don't
exists.
need to wig her. She's good.
She's good. Okay, moving forward. This is another one
Mhm.
that Lady Caltaine is the one that I switched last minute. So I chose Gemma Chan for Lady Caltaine and then Jared Harris for Duke Parrington. So I originally had Lily Collins as Lady Caltaine, but then based on a teeny bit
Mhm.
of a spoiler of what I think potentially may happen, but also we left it in the first book as like something's going on with her. We don't know.
Yeah,
It's giving.
she's currently having cuckoo delusions at where I'm at, where she's like, there's crows every day and I'm meant for something. And it's like, baby
Yeah,
girl.
it's magic. It's giving ethereal. It's giving something is going to happen with her. And even
Mhm.
though, at least, I mean, this is not a spoiler yet. So far, halfway through Air of Fire, I haven't seen her, but I have a feeling that she's going to
Okay.
come back. I'm like,
Mhm.
she didn't set all this up with all of this and have her be such an important part of the game series, the competition in book one, for us just to never see her again. And so
There's
for
8 books.
me, there's 8 books. She's coming back in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
And she's
Yeah.
described as a strikingly beautiful woman with creamy pale skin. And I was like, there are a lot of Asian cultures that also have creamy pale skin. It doesn't need to be white European creamy pale. So this
Mhm.
was another way for me to infuse some diversity into this. Long raven black hair, sculpted brows, night dark eyes. And this is the one
Mhm.
that stood out to me with a voice that is rich and cultured. Gemma Chan's voice is so kind of like beautiful and smooth, and it's like drinking a nice good creamy cup of coffee. Like it's just she has just such a beautiful voice for me.
Oh my
But to remind
god.
listeners of what she's been in, she's it's a TV show Humans. She was in Captain Marvel, Eternals, Crazy Rich Asians, Don't Worry Darling. And then for theater, because she's done stuff on the West End, she was in Yellowface and The Homecoming for theater. So we're kind of going back to our theater roots here. And then for Duke
Mhm.
Parrington, a reminder, Jared Harris.
Quick
Yes,
question.
sure.
How old is she?
Early 30s,
Okay.
early to
Do we feel that could be an issue with who, say we cast Sadie Sink, they're around the same age?
Yeah, I thought about that because which is part of the reason why Lily Collins was originally my first Lady Coltane. And I think what I'm going for, maybe, maybe not. And I think it's me
Okay.
trying to kind of foreshadow what I think might be happening with her character later down the line in terms of coming back regarding
Being a fae
she
that
has
doesn't age? Yeah.
yeah, something like that. She has some sort
I
of
mean,
cure. There's something going on with
yeah.
her, and
We
I
ain't
feel like
stupid.
that
Sarah
gives
J.
her
Maas has a formula.
she does. And I feel like that gives this character a little bit more leeway with aging for this character. But then also if
Yeah.
she is like an ageless something or other, I feel like there needs to
Yeah.
be a little bit of that maturity in there. But then moving forward to the Duke. For those who don't know, Jared Harris is the son of Richard Harris, who's the original Dumbledore in the first Harry Potter movies.
Rip. Rip.
But
Which I
Rip,
was kind of hoping he's not old enough, and like Jonathan Lithgow is going to be a great Dumbledore, and I'm very excited about that. But I was like, man, I really wish they would have been able to do something to like age him up to be a part of it, or like maybe they can have him be. What if he's like Mad Eye Moody in like the new series? Like I could see that. Like
I could say
I
that too.
just
Yeah.
think that would be so special to do something. But like, anyways, yeah, okay, continue.
And yeah, so his television credits include Mad Men, The Crown, as we all know. He played Queen Elizabeth's father in the first couple seasons of The Crown. The Terror, which is a great show if you haven't seen The Terror, and
Mhm.
Chernobyl. Film credits include Lincoln, Sherlock Holmes, and Pompeii, and then too many Shakespeare on Broadway and West End credits to list.
Literally, he's been every Richard.
Every Richard. Okay, and
No.
then so I think the last two are the Queen and King, and
Mhm.
I have Michael Fassbender as the King of. I've heard this pronounced a few different ways, but the way that I have been reading it, because this was the consensus of, I want to say Adarlan because my name is Adara, but that's not the way that the internet told me to say it. Adarlan. I don't like it. I don't like it. It doesn't roll
Gasp.
off the tongue.
Otterland? Like Otterland?
Yeah, yeah, or a Darland or a Darland.
I thought it was
Um,
I thought it was a Darlin. Is
it's
there a
the
D at the end of it? A Darland? No.
Darland,
There's
yeah. I think it's a
it's
question of is it R or air, first of all, and then which syllable is emphasized.
fancy words are
And
so
maybe
hard.
I know, and maybe we just listen to the audiobook to figure out what they say. I'm not 100%
Listen,
sure.
as an audiobook narrator, I don't know how to pronounce half the shit that I did in Dreamwalker. I had to
Yeah,
keep going back to Brittany and being like, "Hey, Brittany, what's this word?" And this girl's sending me voice notes, being like,
yeah,
"It sounds like this," and I'm like, "Okay, thank you." And there's been a lot of controversy with the narrators for like Fourth Wing, where a lot of the characters and places are real Gaelic words, and they're being pronounced incorrectly. And Rebecca Yarros has addressed that. Anyways,
okay, finish up.
so let's go with a Darlin. I don't know, guys.
We'll do a Darlin for now, and maybe people can correct us.
This
So Michael
podcast is
Fassbender.
free. Okay.
It's yeah. His TV credits include Band of Brothers and The Agency. Most people know him from film for X-Men, 12 Years a Slave, Assassin's Creed, which is my favorite. video game series, Macbeth and Prometheus. And then for me, it's more so like he's of a good age, and from what we know so far, he's not maybe a good guy. And he can be aged up, I
Mhm.
think, a little bit too in terms of like the ugliness for him, but he
Mhm.
has a stoicness and like kind of a natural leadership quality to him that I think is needed for any type of king role. As we get further into it, I think we learned some more things about natural qualities, but I don't want to ruin anything for you or for
For sure.
people who haven't gone far enough in the series. And so for me, I just felt like this is the one where I almost felt like you could pop in any actor in his 40s and they'd be fine.
Sure. Sure.
But then I really struggled with Queen Georgina because we don't know that much about her. And I want to hope that she comes in towards the end and uses the power that privilege that she has for good in the overall series, but she might not. And either way, I think she's going to be using her power. So she needs to be someone that we can have believable in terms of utilizing and wielding that power, because she's either going to stand with her husband or not. For me, Carrie Coon was a really interesting choice because of her role in the Gilded Age. She is a very take control, powerful woman in the Gilded Age. In film, she's been in Gone Girl. She was also in Avengers Infinity War in a whole bunch of makeup that people don't know. Widows and His Three Daughters. And then she has an extensive theater career, including Broadway, off Broadway, and a lot of Chicago theater, actually. So that
And
is.
she's in the White Lotus right now.
She is in the White Lotus right now. There's my cast. That's the full cast. I love my big five. I love my big five.
I have my favorites of your cast, and I have some that I have rebuttals, and I think some things that'll solve some. I know that this might be an issue. I'm going to tell you right away that I think that your Celaena is correct.
Yay! I love that. I was so proud of my decision.
I would like to see Sadie Sink have that moment, that big role, because she is always kind of like the sidekick a little bit. She's at perfect age. She is gorgeous. I mean, and she's done the action things too.
Yeah.
Because Celaena is described as like her want for having nice, beautiful things and also being an assassin. I think she can play both, and like she can dress up, she can dress down, she can be sweet, she can be sassy. We've seen a lot of her growing up in her career that is the perfect time for her to step into a role like this. I'm going to show you my cast, but I kind of want to lock her in, but it's a little too soon.
I'm excited to see yours.
There is not a single crossover.
Wow.
There's no crossover. I'm actually shocked because I thought maybe our Dorians would cross over. You went strict theater route and I went full prominent television route. So this cast was really easy for me to fill in, but I'm not fully sold on anybody 100%, but I kind of like my Dorian a little better, but
Okay.
and I have reasons. Okay, so
Yeah, let's do it.
Are you ready?
Yes, I'm really ready.
Okay, here is my Throne of Glass cast, fan casting. Starting us off with our Celaena Sardothien. This is Sarah Catherine Hook. She's currently in White Lotus. She has brown hair in the White Lotus. But this photo is her from the new Cruel Intentions series that just came out that I worked on. She is an ice queen and like gorgeous, and then has this really vulnerable side. I think she's a great actress. She's newer. It truly is like White Lotus and Cruel Intentions are like two of her biggest credits. So I think my choice with her was because like her career is just starting and now she's got one major show that just popped up. She's got another major show she's on right now. I think she's like alarmingly pretty. I do like yours better. Just because I like Sadie Sink.
It didn't click until you saw the blonde Sadie.
Well, and her eyes too. She's got these eyes that are really intense.
She has the experience of the more physical stuff, I think, too, that maybe Sarah doesn't have yet, but she might.
Working with a green screen, all those things. For Sarah, I cast her in this role before I started watching the new season of White Lotus. And when I saw her in the new season of White Lotus, I was going, I don't think she's my choice. But I'm going to keep her because I already did it. So that's my Celaena. But I think yours is better. Well, I think we should go with Sadie Sink.
Let's lock it in. Yay,
Lock it in.
Sadie.
All right. Lock it in. Okay.
I thought about Cole Sprouse.
Well, I did, and then I changed my mind.
Oh, okay. I love that.
I couldn't get behind it. I couldn't.
I couldn't either. I was like, I
I
can't
couldn't get behind it because he was such a dickhead to Lily Reinhart that through Riverdale that I was like, I don't like you.
Gen Z girlies would be all over it.
I know. But I also think my true choice, the Gen Z girlies might be all over. Now,
Okay.
I don't know him very well. But the clips that I looked, I have not seen this movie. I wanted to read the book first, so I hadn't seen the movie. Tom Blythe.
What's Tom? Remind me what Tom. I've seen his face, but I'm not placing where.
He is in the new Hunger Games, Ballad of
with the
Snakes and Songbirds.
blonde, as a blonde. That's
He
right.
is President Snow before he's
I
President
see it.
Snow.
I see it.
So
I kind of like it better than mine, to be honest. So yeah, I see it.
he's got this cute Prince Charming. He is very tall. He is very clean cut. He can clean up. And from where I think the series is going, Dorian is going to have an emotional arc. And I think he could really do it from what I have seen of his work. I've never actually fully watched anything that he's been in. But
Yeah.
I was like, gotta find some clips. Like, come on.
I did watch the full new Hunger Games, and he was good in it. Yeah.
Okay, great. I just think he's really cute. He's got those piercing blue eyes, his hair being dark, and I think him and Sadie Sink together would really pop.
I'm like 50-50 equal even. So like like for me, to me, like either or would work. I mean, if we want to be a little bit more true to how he's described in the book in terms of height, then I think that Tom Blythe is the more correct decision for that.
Yay!
Yeah, let's lock in Tom Blythe. I love it.
Who do I have next? Oh, my Kale. I mean, I think I already want your Kale. This guy, he was dead last for me. I only know one thing he's been in. That would be Tanner Zagarino.
I have no clue who that is either.
I barely do.
Who is this?
He shows up as Dylan from a different school in Shrinking, the show on Apple TV with Jason Segel. I really enjoyed the first season. The second season was a little harder for me to get into, but he shows up and he is Alice, the daughter's boyfriend from a different school, and he looks older. And so Jason Segel is like, dude, how old are you? And that kind of like sold me on it because, I feel like Kale's attractive, right? But he's a Kingsguard. Like, he's got to be able to defend the king. So he's got to be tough. And he just has like this rugged, can age up, can age down quality of an actor. But I couldn't tell you what else he's been in. I just saw it and went, I think that's got to be my Kale. That's how I'm picturing him a little bit because I couldn't find the right actor. And I think your actor, based on look, is how I was picturing Kale.
I'm going to argue, and I think it's not really an argument, but I'm going to push for Kit Connor. Okay, so we're tabling Kale until the end.
Okay, we're going to table Kale. I'm not married to this dude. At all. I'm telling you, he was dead last. I think Kit, I keep wanting to call him Kit Haring. It is not Jon Snow. And I think that's kind of like in my brain how I'm picturing Kale's features and attitude is like a Jon Snow, very rugged and like, you can't love me type of things. So I think I need to see that part of your Kit. We'll table him. Okay, my princess, this is Rainbow Waddell. She is currently in a Paramount Plus show called School Spirits. I am obsessed with her. She's so pretty and so mean. Sometimes she's plays the best friend of the main character who is haunting the school and they're trying to solve her murder. And she feels she's to blame because she was actually sleeping with her boyfriend. So she's got this like frenemy vibe already, but truly is like, you find out as you go on that she's like the person who cares the absolute most for this main character. I think with your choice, she's obviously like a working actress. She can get work. She's got that stacked resume. Rainbow doesn't yet. Like, she's had like some smaller bits and stuff, but she's never had like a very main role. So I would love to see her. She's also pretty tall and that earthy quality that we were talking about. You
Yeah.
can't see it, but she's got this like cute gap in her teeth. She's so like down to earth without being plain, and she's so regal without being unobtainable of being Celaena's friend.
I have never seen anything of her. I've seen, like because it's on Netflix, right? If I remember correctly.
No, it's
I
on
think
Paramount. It's on Paramount.
Paramount. I feel like I've seen it like pop up, in terms of like when they're promoting it. So I've seen like, little image and stills of her or whatever, but I've
For
not
sure.
seen her perform. This is one where I'm like 50-50 on, it's
Okay.
like, I think that it's, I think either one would be good. And it's 50-50 in a good way, I think that we both make good
I agree.
cases. And so maybe we table it and we try to give each other a couple of 50-50s if there's anyone that we end up feeling a little bit more, as we finish this. But
For
like
sure.
I think they both
Tit for
would
tat,
make
man.
they both would make a really great Nehemia. So
I
it's
agree. I agree. I like them both. Okay.
is this a real one or is this a fake one? Are you guys?
No, this is real. Noah
Yeah.
Centineo.
Okay. Sell it. You got to sell this one for me.
I can't. I chose it because he looks crazy in this photo. He's I'm from Kissing Booth and whatever
Yeah.
tween heartthrob things. And I had no idea who I wanted as Kane. Not a clue.
Yeah.
So I went, you'll do. You look nuts. I mean, he's a name that would bring people in, but he's also a
I don't
character
think
that
there's no age. He's a big, powerful, strong warrior from the mountains that has been
for
hired by
sure.
the Duke.
And I think he's got like a frame to him.
Yeah.
Like he's like kind of a stocky, burly dude. He popped into my head and I said, let's go with it. Sure.
Sure.
Fine.
I like
But I will
this is
absolutely
ugly.
give
I
you
like my
your Kane.
give me my Winston Duke.
Yeah. I think Winston Duke is the
Okay.
correct choice. We can lock that in when we get to it, but I
Listen,
mean,
who knows what's going to happen in the next 8 books? There
I mean,
could be a place for Noah Centineo in there. We don't
I
know yet.
mean, like
We'll have to
he
revisit
looks
once we get to like book 5 and see if our cast continues to stack up, and then add the new characters in.
yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Emily Blunt as my
Okay.
Elena.
Okay.
In my mind, she is older, wiser, kind of the guide.
Yeah.
Where has Emily Blunt been? Doing A Quiet Place? Come on. Like, let's get her in here.
Yeah. Here's my rebuttal. I think you are thinking of Emily Blunt of maybe 5 years ago, maybe because this is a picture of Emily Blunt from a couple of years ago. And I'm trying to figure out a way to say this that doesn't sound offensive. I think that Emily Blunt has had some recent work that doesn't necessarily make her look like this currently, and it's not good work or bad work. I just think her face has changed recently. You can see that in Oppenheimer a lot. That to be
Okay.
said, work can be revised, redone, whatever. And so for
Mhm.
me, she looks a little bit, she doesn't quite look as ethereal as, and I know this is a very stylized photo and she could probably stylize for it again. But for me, I'm not getting the vibes from 2025 Emily Blunt. I'm getting the vibes from like maybe 2022 Emily Blunt. It's
Okay.
kind of the way I'm feeling it.
I have a second choice. She's not in
Okay.
here,
Okay.
but I'll bring her up when we are at the casting table.
Okay.
I have a second choice who I was like, maybe, I don't know. I want to stick with Emily Blunt because I want to give her some work. Yeah,
Which I totally
I think
understand.
even like beyond looks, like it's just that's kind of like the, with the tomb and the visions and the
I
ghost
do like the
visitations and
idea
stuff.
of an older Elena Havyard. I
I
do like that.
see her as older.
Yeah.
So I have someone I'll bring back around. These are my
Olivia
very bold
Rodrigo.
choices.
Those are bold.
Now,
Both of those are bold choices.
a lady called Tane, she's got to be close to Celena's age. I just read it in a chapter of how close in age they look. And Olivia Rodrigo can act. She actually really can act. And she does have that rich voice, both singing quality and speaking quality. I think she's got the look of like the long, dark hair. She can, again, be regal, that just kind of snotty. And I think her paired with TJ Miller as Duke Parrington would be, it is a choice. And I've got the reasons. So if we go with Lady Coltane being of her actual age or closer to her age, and went with Olivia Rodrigo. I think having Jared Harris, love him, but I would rather see him play the king and see TJ Miller be Duke Parrington so that it is still creepy because TJ Miller is creepy, but not creepy age-wise, where considering things with Lady Coltane and Duke Parrington and him still getting his way with her, I think that would be really into uncomfortable territory with that age gap. I think like this is an older picture of TJ Miller because try Googling TJ Miller. There are no good photos of him. This man looks like he smelled a fart in every photo. So, and he sucks. I mean, like as a celebrity and a character, garbage. But like
Hmm.
I would like to see him be sleazy and might be
Yeah.
able to bring a little bit of like comic relief to like the darker characters that we already know like some fuck shit's going on, right? Like with him and the king and the ring and stuff. I don't know. I kind of I really like him as a choice because he's not doing anything. He's just sucks. And so like let's give him a character that sucks and make him not relevant again, but maybe have a chance to be a bit better going forward in the industry. So that's why I have them.
I don't hate either of these choices. I think a lot of what happens with the Duke depends on who he casts as a king, because I think they're supposed to be somewhat similar in age. So if the
Mhm.
king ends up getting cast a little bit older, then I think we can go a little bit older with the Duke, and then in turn go a little bit older with Lady Coltane. If the king is cast, because technically, I mean, the king could have had Dorian when they were 18, 19 years old, like a lot of historical couples used to do, or you could have had him when he was in 20s and his 30s. So like, are we casting a 42-year-old king, or are we casting a 62-year-old? I think that a lot of it will
Right.
kind of depend on that. I think there's a
Mhm.
good case to be made to skew these folks a little bit younger to keep this particular relationship less creepy.
Right. I think with your choice of the king, that could work.
Yeah.
With my choice of the king, that will not work. I do have
Okay.
David Harbour as the king of a how did we choose this? A Darlin?
Darlin.
Let's go with a Darlin. Only because he's got this he doesn't look like Dorian. He's obviously very menacing. I just kind of saw him he's described as having a round face, as like large fingers, and so he came to my head almost immediately, but I'm not sold on him. I actually really like your choice of the king, especially if we keep Olivia Rodrigo with your king being the king and Dorian being Tom Blythe. They don't look alike at all.
Yeah.
Right? And they're not supposed to. And for whatever God knows what reason, I haven't gotten there yet, but they're not
Eventually.
supposed to. And for my Queen Georgina, I have Amy Adams. And I really like her as Queen Georgina because I think in book 1 and 2 so far, she's a little aloof. They've got this son who is obviously troubled, and she is like, I want everything to be good. And I think Amy Adams can play this aloof royal, and she can be real dark. And
Yeah.
she can stand her ground if she needs to stand her ground. She's done it. She's, disenchanted, enchanted in sharp objects. I mean, she's got the acting chops to do both wherever this character might go.
And she's a theater girly, originally starting out at Chanhassen Dinner Theaters in Minnesota.
She is. Chanhassen, shout out to Chanhassen and everything that they've been going through lately too. I hope Greece went well and everyone's healing. I think my Queen Georgina casting as Amy Adams is my number one favorite. And if I'm going to fight for anyone, it's going to be her.
I'm not
She is
I'm not
described,
going to make you fight hard. Like, I am 100% down for Amy Adams.
she's got auburn hair and
Sold.
green eyes.
Yeah, sold.
Like, I've just immediately, that's who I picked. Her and your king together had this kind of like red auburn style going, and Dorian with this like black hair and bright blue eyes is like, where the hell did you come from?
Yeah. I mean, I am 100% down for locking in Amy Adams. Here's my compromise for this. I
Okay.
think we should lock in Amy Adams
Hmm.
and Michael Fassbender as the king and queen. And
Hmm.
I do not think I can be convinced on TJ Miller for the Duke, but I think I could be convinced on David Harbour for the Duke.
Okay.
I
Okay.
was like, what if we slide David Harbour over?
I would do that.
I'm also
Because I just
50-50
think,
on Lady Coltane too. Like, I think that in a casting situation, we'd need to do more callbacks for each in order to make the decision for all these
for sure.
50-50, but we don't have that luxury.
Okay. Let me pull up my whole cast here.
Yeah.
This is who I'm working with. All right. If you give me Olivia Rodrigo as Lady Coltane, we will absolutely go with your Kale.
Great. Let's do it.
Okay.
I still want to pull up these images. I'm like done. So I still want to pull up
Yeah,
these
yeah, yeah.
images. One is an image and one is a
Absolutely.
video.
So this is my first cast. We've locked in 2 people. Tom Blythe as Dorian, Amy Adams, Olivia Rodrigo. Those 3.
Yeah. And then we can, if we're okay with locking in David Harbour as the Duke, we can lock. I
Yeah.
think that like David Harbour didn't even cross my mind. I think David Harbour is also a very similar situation where he fits the bill regarding
Mhm.
he could be the Duke as well, and then also has the acting background and the ability to be creepy too.
We're going to take it down and we're going to come to the casting table and discuss here.
Yep.
All right. Our Celaena, we are locking in as Sadie Sink.
Yes, ma'am.
Our Dorian will be Tom Blythe. Our
Yes.
Kale will be Kit. And you have another photo you want to show as to prove his rugged warriorness?
I do. It's a shirtless photo. I apologize in advance to Kit Connor, but he took this photo as like part of a photo shoot. He's working on
Yep.
a film in which he had to really bulk up, or he just finished working on a film in which he had to really bulk up. This to me also it helps, but having to recently bulk up really makes him look a lot more adult. And Kale is supposed to be more along like the 23, 24-year-old age range. He's not supposed to be the
Mm-hmm.
18, 19, 20 that Dorian and Celaena are. There is a scene
Yeah.
in the Romeo and Juliet Broadway production where, and it's the balcony scene, and what they do is they actually lower a platform that Rachel Zegler is like laying on, and then
Mm-hmm.
Kit Connor jumps and grabs onto the edge of the platform, and then he hangs there for several minutes apparently of his own
Wait.
validity, and then he does one pull up for the kiss and in the balcony scene in Romeo and Juliet, and the way that the Gen Z girlies have been feral for this balcony hang and the pull up and the kiss has just been bonkers. That being said, this was part of the reason why he locked in so early is because all of the videos that have been in on him, he's been bulked up lately. I just don't think that's been that much out there in the world outside of the Romeo and Juliet Broadway production realm because he bulked up right before Romeo and Juliet. So for me, if he's able to maintain that bulk and really kind of like, yes, I'm the King's Guard and I work out every day and I'm really strong and I have the ability to win battles and protect the king, that is the current vision of Kit Connor is what I envision for Kale, not the Kit Connor of like 2 years ago.
I mean, I'm sold. My only hesitation is, do him and Sadie Sink maybe look like they could be siblings?
I don't think I never thought of it, so I don't think it's enough of a concern, especially the way
He's
that
got to
they
grow
just
facial hair.
he's got to grow a little bit of facial hair and a little bit of stubble. They can change his hair color, I think, a lot easier than they can for the other characters. And then also, I think her eyes are so important in the way that she's being described. And you haven't gotten to this yet, but they remain important in terms of her as a character and who she is.
I'll give you a Kale if I can keep Olivia Rodrigo.
Done. Deal.
Okay.
Shake on it.
Great. Shake. For the sake of boldness.
Yeah.
We keep Olivia Rodrigo because
Let's do it.
why not? Our Duke has shifted to David Harbour.
Yep.
Winston Duke as Kane. Amy Adams as Queen Georgina. Yep. Okay. We're going
Celaena.
back to the drawing board for Elena.
Yeah.
And Nehemia was, we're 50-50 split.
Yeah. This would be another callback for me. I would give you your Nehemia if I could have Anya Taylor-Joy as Elena.
I won't do that.
Okay.
I think Anya Taylor-Joy is incorrect.
Okay.
She's too much like Celaena, because in the fan casting world, that's everybody's Celaena.
Really?
Yes,
I don't see it at all.
because of the blonde, big eyes.
She's not
And
natural blonde like that,
I,
though.
I know. I agree. I don't see it. I have a second choice. I give you Lily Rabe.
I like Lily Rabe better than Emily Blunt.
But because she's older, she's got that like kind of
Yeah.
ethereal but
Yeah.
wisdom type of
She's a
thing.
fantastic actress.
She's fantastic. And she's done, American Horror
Yes.
Story. I see her as Elena.
There's also a character later on in book 3 that I could see Emily Blunt for as well. So we're not necessarily pulling them off the table.
Yeah.
We're just
Here's the
maybe
thing.
pulling them later in the series.
Right. The person you always think is going to get the lead actually gets the supporting role, and they do an amazing job, and somebody comes out of nowhere and does the lead, and everybody's happy because it was great work. I mean, I would love to have her as our Elena. Yeah. Okay. So then I say we go with your Nehemia.
Yay,
Which
Quavenjane!
I will not spell that correctly.
The emphasis is on then. But if you read it as it is, but the problem is that it's you don't know where the emphasis on. I had to watch a video of little baby Quavenjane saying it herself. And she goes, "It's Quavenjane."
Quavenjane. So we have our full cast showing now, and let's go through. Our Celaena Sardothien is Adara's choice as Sadie.
Think.
Our Dorian Haviard is my choice as Tom Blythe. Our Kale Westfall, Adara's choice,
Kit Connor.
Kit Connor. Our Lady Keltane, for now, is Olivia Rodrigo. Our Duke Parrington, easily shifted, David Harbour.
Love.
Our Elena Haviard.
A choice neither of us made.
Had to bring in a sub.
Last minute self-submission
Lily Rabe.
won the race.
Queen Georgina, Amy Adams. Bless. It's my favorite casting choice. Our Princess Nehemia Yitger?
Yitger, I think.
Are we Yitger?
Yitger or Itger? I think Yitger.
The Y is probably silent. We have no idea. We'll find out someday. Is Oscar-nominated Quavenjane Wallace. And our Kane.
Winston Duke. We love.
I love it. What do we think? We feel good?
We skipped past the king.
We skipped the king. We hate him. That's how we feel.
We skipped past
Michael Fassbender.
Adarlan. Adarlan? I don't know.
Adarlan.
King of Adarlan. King of Adarlan is Michael Fassbender. My choice. Love. I am so happy with this cast.
The Adarlan joke is going to hit different when you read Crescent City.
Okay.
It might be Otterland. Adarland. The king is Michael Fassbender. And that's it.
I think it's great.
Where are we filming this show, Fran?
I think it depends on who the production house is. That's what I think. I think it depends on how much monies we got to be filmed on location versus in a soundstage. And they have some great sound stages in Hungary or in the UK because similar situation. Cheap to film there with some great sound stages. And it is close enough to a lot of Europe to be able to do a lot of on location shooting if needed. You'll have to wait and see until you get to book 3.
I'm probably going to read the rest of the evening because I have some books to finish. I have to catch up. Well, Adara, thank you so much for being here on FanCastic and creating the cast of Throne of Glass.
Thank you for having me. Let me hold up. Air of Fire, Throne of Glass.
Throne of Glass. And you'll probably be back for at least a few of these in the series.
Maybe we revisit it after book 4, book 5, and then we revisit it at the very end. Yeah.
And we see where we're at. Well, thank you so much for being here and being my book club friend.
Thank you for having me. Love you.
Yeah.